Hi, Catherine.
Hi, Luciana. Good evening, and
Good evening.
and
Thursday,
welcome.
August 10th already.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
We've
is.
gone, we're already past the halfway marker this year. That's crazy. That went so fast, didn't
Right,
it?
right.
That went really fast.
Well, we always talk about how we're solution oriented, and along those lines, we're going to talk about the common law grand jury. But I wanted to just remind people, we can't do any of this without God, and we pray to Him that He fortify our discernment skills. I've been talking to people all day long who I don't know where their discernment skills went, but
I know.
they just don't seem to have any. And fear will do that to you. Terror will do that to you. Both in, coming from the professionals who charge you an arm and a leg to terrify you, and the ones that have the caduceus as their symbol. I dare not even say what they are.
The caduceus?
Yeah, the caduceus, the intertwined snakes,
Oh,
yeah, I think we know what
yeah.
profession that represents.
I'm pretty sure we do.
Yeah, and just, had an email exchange with a woman that's just being absolutely terrorized. And what seems to be a common denominator is people are urged by both professions to abandon your own common sense and certainly abandon God and listen to us and pay us a lot of money because this is what we do for a living. And and only then can you save yourself. And it turns out at every level it's a lie.
Right. That and I not only fear, but I think they also have hopelessness. Like they look at the big picture, and it's been this way for so long, and they figure this is too big. It's too big. There's too many people involved. They got too much power. There's no way we could change this. So they feel like it's just too much hard work. But again, this is people that where is their discernment? Where is their faith in God? Where is it? Because God can move mountains, and together this can happen. I think it's been a long time waiting.
And we just had a commenter who has, defied the experts in the care of his mother, and he's used a lot of common sense and just reading about the gifts that God has provided in nature for us to heal ourselves. And there's some people that I hope will be on this broadcast or listen to it later, this recording anyway, until it's broadcast tomorrow, who will be able to benefit from starting to trust themselves and the wisdom that God has written in all of our hearts and minds. And it's there. Even the bad guys seem to have that knowledge in their hearts. They know what they're doing is wrong, and we have seen a lot of that up close and personal in the last couple of years. And
yet they continue to do it.
Yeah, they continue.
They think their life on this earth is going to continue forever, and they will. I don't get it, because they know, and they know they're going to have to answer to God for this. And I guess they don't know that you might not wake up tomorrow. You might die in your sleep. I mean, they don't care. They don't care. The money and the popularity they're getting from doing these things to people, I guess this short-term win in popularity and money for them is everything.
I know that a lot of people who follow them don't even believe there is such a being as Satan, which is said to be one of his greatest tricks, is to convince people he doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm. And they're starting to train children now from very young ages with this after school Satan club. I'm not sure if you watch the video that they're showing to kids when they're at the after school Satan's club, and they have this song about Satan is not bad, and this is not real, and it's
I know, I've been seeing the after school Satan clubs for some time now. Yeah. And, we don't have to, it's going to take some effort, but for the most part, we are given choices. Even Satan gives us choices of some kind. We don't have to send our children to these public indoctrination centers. We do have to learn how to counteract the consequences of doing that. And we have them. And I would be happy to help anybody, and particularly people who have banded together with others. We've discussed the so-called public school indoctrination centers, I think, on prior broadcasts. As always, there's power in numbers, as long as the people that you assemble with are not going to sabotage you and sabotage your own faith. I think there's some Bible verse about our faith burns stronger when we're together, and but of course, if some of the people we're banded together with don't have that faith, then it's going to be like pouring cold water on it. So really, one of the tools at our disposal that can strengthen us is the common law grand jury.
Correct.
We have taken this in this order for a reason, and we've spent a lot of time referring to our common law court of record, which you can see what we've done at our website, occr2021.com, and you can see the docket section, the pending notices section. There's a common law section that explains in short, fairly simple terms what common law under God is, and how the people on our court and presumably other common law courts will use that. But what can fortify us, because I'm concerned, and I'll ask you to put this up first. It's kind of out of order from the links I sent you, Luciana. This would be the Fifth Amendment.
Okay.
This is the Fifth Amendment to their Constitution. And I know people think that there were a lot of people still are saying, and I spoke with someone earlier today, still thinking, oh, it's that Constitution, that 1787 Constitution in particular, that gives us rights. Well, it doesn't. God gives us rights. The Constitution acknowledges a few of those. Now, the Fifth Amendment, by its own terms, does not apply to us. We can see that because they use the term person. And I think, as we've emphasized in previous broadcasts, when they use the term person, it has a specific meaning, and it doesn't mean a living man or woman. And there's a reason they use the term person. It's like a facade, a mask. And I don't know what part of the Bible refers to God being no respecter of persons. There's a reason that term is used. It's a mask. It's a role that people take on. It's not it's not the man or woman that is wearing the mask. And we have to wear masks in order to interface with other fictitious entities like corporations. So what's the Fifth Amendment for? Or more appropriately, who is the Fifth Amendment for? Well, it's for persons, as it says, like all their legislation, so-called, and all their statutes and codes and constitutions and executive orders and blah, 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 blah. It's
Right.
all for legal fiction persons that they created with our birth certificates. Our parents didn't create legal fiction persons, even though they may have signed the birth certificate. It's an artificial construct, a mental construct. Thank you. Romans 2:11. God is there is no respect of persons with God. And that's why they have to use that term, because they are not respecters of God. They know that they cannot address men and women because they didn't create men and women. So let's pay attention to the language. That's what trips you up every time, is forgetting about the language. Okay, so my concern had been with the common law grand jury, and there's some people that want to argue with me, and there might be one or two on this call, one I spoke with last night, who doesn't believe that the grand jury is biblical. And it may not be, but there are certain features of it that seem to me to be biblical, or at least compatible with the Bible.
Right.
The people that we serve, there are oppressing us, and they are people, but they're acting as persons. But you can't, when you're acting as a person, you're still a man or woman inside, and the man or woman inside is still responsible for his or her actions.
Exactly. They're the ones to be held liable.
That's right. They're the ones that, because a person is just an idea. They can't perform acts. But when we serve notices on the people, because we don't recognize
who have names,
names and addresses and everything.
Have names. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We name them, and we don't care if they were just doing their job. That's no concern of ours. Our concern is the damage you did to the man or woman who's acting as claimant. And if you harmed that man or woman, then you as a man or woman is responsible in damages and subject to restraining orders and injunctions, which we have issued in our court. Now,
and our court's been in operation, actually, Catherine. Let's see. It's going to be 2 years. What, the end of September?
Yeah, September 24th, 2021. We swore everybody in who was our first members.
And the Supreme Court was notified 2 years ago of our court being up and operating. The Governor DeWine, Attorney General Yost, they were all notified that we did put notices of the creation of our court and that it was coming up in public newspapers, and it was up there 3 times, and no one said anything about it. Then we personally served the governor, the attorney general, and Supreme Court with notices that our court was going up. It's going to be up and running. And not one of them said anything about it. And
Nope.
We gave them contact numbers, emails, we just want to let you know. And Catherine, there's a reason why they haven't said anything about it, right?
All right. If they could have said something about it, they would have.
They would have. I think actually that notice that we sent them is in our website.
Yes, it is. Mhm.
which is
I think it's under maybe under formation documents.
OCCR2021.com, and the link is in the founding documents, right? Yeah,
I believe that's where it is.
I believe so. And in there is a notice to them.
Not with their titles, but they're just Maureen is a woman that happened to have this title, and David was a man who happened to have the title he had. One title was Chief Justice of the so-called Ohio Supreme Court, and the other was the Ohio Attorney General. I guess he still has that title.
Keith just checked. It's in there. Yeah, in the founding documents.
Is it in the founding documents?
Yeah.
Okay. And our public notice that we were intending to form, and I wanted to draw, since we're in that part of the website, if anybody's looking under founding documents, there's our public notice in there, and that we posted 3 times, and it's not just a notice of our intent to form a common law court. I believe it also contains our intent to form a common law grand jury. We have not taken steps in that direction yet, but we have provided the public notice needed, if memory serves, because I was just looking at that recently. That was in the Notice of Common Law Assembly, I believe, from 2020. There you go. If you look at Notice of Common Law Assembly from the year 2020,
okay,
you see in the first paragraph our intent to establish a court of record, which we did, with statewide geographical jurisdiction, and a common law grand jury, as well as our Second Amendment protected, duly organized county militias.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't gotten to that yet either, but we will. And just to be clear, every able-bodied man or woman is a member of the militia already. And this does go back to Bible principles where, well, we can get into that in a little bit.
Okay.
So we've already given proper notice of our intent to form a common law grand jury, but we want to complete one task before we go to another. And it's been slow going because people are so terrified of anything and everything. And they tend to believe the lies of the de facto entities, the criminals that are oppressing us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been slow, although it's picked up speed maybe in the last 6 months. But and we each of us talk to people every day who have problems because they're being oppressed by the de factos. We know the de factos are the corporate entities masquerading as courts and grand juries and this and that and police. There were previously common law versions of that were copied. They were basically usurped by the corporate agents that now have their boots on our necks.
Catherine, can you see this is a notice to the Supreme Court and the Attorney General a couple years ago about the formation of our court, which again they have not responded or said one word about it. Right. And we've been in operation for almost 2 years, and they've
had notice for 3 years now. Yeah.
I really like this bottom paragraph here where you said, "We have no current concern about the measures you may be taking to earn a profit for your employers. However, at such point as those activities or others come to our attention as properly framed claims against living men and women and involve common law torts, crimes, contract breaches, or even statutory offenses, we do not intend as a body to exercise." We do intend as a body to exercise our sovereign judicial authority under the common law as our best human expression of the law of the Creator. As we go through this transition, it's our intention to be appropriately transparent and hope we might expect the same from you. I thought that was very nice and cordial, don't you?
I thought so.
I mean,
I haven't seen any transparency though coming from that.
We could have at least gotten okay, thanks for notifying us. We'll look into it. Something. I mean, we got nothing. How rude. I wonder why.
Right.
It's
but I'll take it. I'll take it. It wasn't an objection.
Yeah. Well,
I can't imagine how they could have formulated an objection.
I can imagine the talk behind closed doors though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Well, they've done pretty well with their strategy of ignore it, it'll go away. You know?
Yeah. But we're not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going anywhere.
So now, as I understand it, and I urge people to let us know if you're aware of common law activity in other states, in other equally sovereign state republics, as the original Ohio Republic, not state of Ohio, the original Ohio Republic, is sovereign as a body of people compared to other state republics. And each state republic has its own sovereignty. Now, there are a lot of people out there that want to distract us and say, look at the big picture, look at the top, let's reformulate the District of Criminals, Columbia. And, from the top down, we'll fix it from the top down. No, we're going to be fixing this from the bottom up. We're going to fix this where we're strong. So if you're aware of people, and we're constantly on the lookout for others who are doing something similar to us, and we helped a group of people wanting to reestablish their sovereign Texas Republic, and we helped them to do that. And I think we referred to their court. And if anybody is interested, we have a link. I think they have now decided one case, and they'll be moving along, and they'll be deciding other cases, and many blessings from the Lord on their efforts. They have their own history that's somewhat different than ours, and they have incorporated some things into theirs that maybe we wouldn't in ours, and vice versa. But they're entitled to do that. They're the people there of Texas, and they are the deciders. That's the main point I keep trying to drive home to people is stop making these corporate criminals the deciders, which you do every time you file something into their system.
Stop fearing doing something different that you haven't seen or you're not used to, or you think they're going to come after you for. If you know it's right biblically, and it's right,
and that there's Bible support for it,
foundation of our country here. Yeah. So
taking charge of the entire American continent is a pretty awesome responsibility, and it's a pretty awesome responsibility to even try and form one court in one of the original or almost original. We were the 14th state republic. To even do that is an awesome responsibility. Now, we, as indicated, we have formed, we claim, and we continue to claim, territorial jurisdiction over the entire metes and bounds description of Ohio, the original Ohio Republic that was granted to the people of Ohio via the Northwest Ordinance.
Correct.
Now, does that mean that just because we did it first, that we're the only ones who can form a court? Not at all. Not at all. And we don't mind at all if other people in Ohio want to form a court. I think it would be a waste of resources if they have people who understand how to be court members and they could share their people with ours to in a given case, if we needed to have 12 instead of the 10 we now have, and we could share some of our people with their court. I mean, there's no reason that this should be a competitive thing. It should be a cooperative thing. We're all in this together. We're all living people, Ohioans with a similar history. We all want clean drinking water, clean air, and a safe environment to live in.
Yeah,
So
and we want people's hands off our children and off of our elderly. Just, Jesus.
I think we mentioned on the last broadcast, and the offer is still available. We are formulating a multi-claimant set of claims. It would be one process, though, that we serve on the people who are operating the various corporations masquerading as government in Ohio that make our road travel very hazardous. And we went into that, I think, on either the last broadcast or the one before that. The BMV people, the Department of Public Safety people, and we've looked up their Dun and Bradstreet numbers. We know what they are, and we know the interlocking nature of which ones are subsidiaries or divisions of the other.
Right.
And we've been through that before. But again, feel free to contact us. If you go to OCCR2021.com, you can get our go to contact us, and you can send us an email that you want to be part of that. What you can gain from that is, if you're a claimant and you've had, say, a speeding ticket that good and well they have no authority to issue, if you didn't harm anybody or endanger anyone, then they have no authority over you. They have no authority over you anyway, but if you endangered someone, we in our court could take up that issue. But if you have one of those issues and you're terrified of even getting on the road today, and this is going to be an issue as their corporate United Nations is gearing up to force us all into 15-minute cities, I think, or 15-minute counties where you can only go within a 15-minute radius of where you live. And other
Is
than that,
is it that you can only go a 15-minute radius, or is it that within 15 minutes every city or every county will have access to everything they need, where they don't have to go further than that?
Oh no, it's going to be mandatory. It'll start out being voluntary, like everything they do, like other things they've done to us. Oh, it'll be voluntary until it isn't,
Right.
Okay, so what's the purpose of it? Okay, go ahead.
And our court, the Ohio Circuit Court of Record, I love that it's seated in Chillicothe, in a building in Chillicothe. And I didn't know until we started the court, and you told me that Chillicothe was actually Ohio's first capital until 1810.
I can't remember when it stopped being. Yeah,
I
one of the
do.
Columbus radio stations says supposedly Chillicothe says that was the first capital. Yeah, it was the
Yeah,
first.
it was. And then it was briefly moved to Zanesville, then returned back to Chillicothe 2 years later. And then I guess in 1816, they moved the capital to Columbus. God help us with Columbus, right?
Yeah, right, right. So yeah, that's the county seat of Ross County.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have our court, and our court could adjudicate not only monetary damages, injunctions, and restraining orders, and award property. It can also make decisions about criminal liability. And that's why I had you post the Fifth Amendment, because a lot of the people who will one day be subject to criminal sanctions from us may claim that, oh, we're entitled to the protections of the Fifth Amendment. I mean, it's their Fifth Amendment. It applies to persons, but we're not going after them. You know, prosecutions don't a legitimate prosecution does not name a person. A legitimate prosecution names a man or a woman. So you notice that whenever they go after you, the first document that they ever send you, whether it's a speeding ticket or they charge you with disorderly conduct or they charge you with one of their statutory offenses. They don't have crimes, they have offenses. It just means that you violated their corporate policy in the form of a statute or a code. Right. So once when they first send you a notice, they don't send it to you because they don't have any authority over you. They send it to the all capital name that they created themselves.
Yeah, and when people don't pay attention to that, and their name usually only their name in the entire document is written in all capital letters. I mean, yes. Why would the rest of the document be normal? You know, uppercase, lowercase, normal, the way you learn to write, which is proper. But then all of a sudden, your name is in capital letters. There's a reason for that. There's a reason.
Absolutely,
for that.
Absolutely.
That's not you, baby. That's not you.
Oh, no, unless you agree in right. some way, or they deem that you have agreed. And there's various ways that we found out that they deem that, oh, you agreed to be, to act like you were a person.
Hey, Catherine. Should for those who haven't heard it, should we go ahead and play the audio again of what happens when you try to correct that in the court?
It's like sure. Yes. Go ahead.
Unfortunately, this event happened to me in Parma Court, and I was pulled over for a traffic ticket wherein I knew I wasn't speeding because I had my I always use when I'm driving down a long road, if somewhere I'm not familiar and I see that, oh my God, the speed change, I'll put my what do you call it, my automatic speed thing, I forget what it's called, but
automatic or something.
Yeah, so I know I was going the speed limit. So when I got pulled over and got the ticket, my husband and my son, they're like, just pay it. It's $200. Just pay it and forget about it. I'm like, why should I pay that? Why should I give them $200? I know I wasn't speeding. They obviously don't have any evidence of me speeding because I wasn't. So I went to court to fight it. It was crazy. The magistrate, before the judge, I told him I don't want to plead guilty or plead this or plead that. And I'm like, where's your evidence that I was speeding? He says, literally, my husband was stunned when we walked out. He couldn't believe what he had heard. The magistrate said, these cops are out there every day. They know when you're going over the speed limit. They just know. I'm like, what? So I go to the pretrial, and then the judge, I'll go ahead and name him, or so-called judge, the man wearing a black dress on a little stage there in a room that they call a court in Parma. His name is Timmy Gilligan. Timmy Gilligan got freaked out when all I wanted to say is, I am not the person that you are claiming I am in the all caps letters. I just wanted to correct the record to say that my name is not spelled in all capital letters. It's only a capital L and capital C. And he goes on to say, I don't care how you spell it. Obviously, he cared a lot. So here, it's only like a minute long. Listen to what. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah.
Here's the exchange.
It's insane what happened. Okay, hold on. It's really bad. This is what the so-called judge in a so-called court, which is really a private corporation, gets away with when you even walk through those doors. They just can have their way with you, and it's not good. So don't even go in there. Okay, here we go. All right. Let me know if you can hear it.
21 TRD 4900, City of Parma versus Luciano Constantino, present court's independent. Are you Luciano Constantino?
I am the agent representing that person that.
Pardon me?
I'm the agent representing the person that you have written down in all caps name. My name is not written in all caps, in all capital letters.
Well, that's all impressive. I'm going to ask you
But that
one
is,
more
my
time,
name
and I'm
is,
going to remind you that I have contempt of court powers and I have work to do. This is all good fun and games for you, but I'm not playing. So if you interrupt me again, I'm going to hold you in contempt of court. I'm going to tell you how this will work. I'm going to ask you a couple of simple questions that will not prejudice your case in any fashion. If you don't answer my simple questions that don't prejudice your case, I will find you in contempt of court and I will put you in jail. Are you Luciana Constantino? Yes or no?
I am Luciana Constantino, written with a capital L and capital C.
Okay. Don't tell me such stupid things when I ask you a simple question. I really don't care whether you capitalize your name, the beginning of it, the end of it, or else anything else you do. Yes or no? Are you Luciano Constantino?
I am here representing them. The Luciana Constantino.
I find that you are in contempt of court. I asked you a simple question. You don't want to answer it. You want to delay these proceedings. I don't have time for that.
I don't.
You are hereby sentenced to 30 days in jail.
Okay,
take her away.
I object.
Bailiff, take her away. Your objection will be noted, but you're going to jail for 30 days.
So Catherine, how'd you like that? That you could be put in a judge or so-called judge, a man in a black dress on a stage in a room of a private corporation. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The state, or he feels that he has the authority to put a woman in jail for spelling her name correctly, for the record, in their private corporation in that room.
This is an example.
What law did I break? What law did I break?
You don't have to. You don't have to.
And not only that, he continued to say, that I refused to state my name. How many times did I say, yes, I am, but it's spelled differently? So what's a big deal? He said it wasn't a big deal. So why not just say, all right, well, moving forward? No, he couldn't do that.
No, he had to create for his employers, he had to create a record that you had agreed to act for the all capital name, and you weren't giving him that. Now, he thought that he could deem that you were one of his slaves because you walked in. The only reason that you walked in, we made a tactical mistake there. And it's the mistake that I tell people over and over and over and over and over not to make. Even if they threaten you, we're going to do horrible, terrible, life-altering, we're going to commit horrible crimes against you called, arrest, and which is just a euphemism for batteries and assaults and false imprisonment. We're going to commit those crimes against you if you do not do what we say. The first thing that we say is, come come into my parlor, said the spider to the fly.
Right.
You know,
Right.
which is exactly what God tells us not to do. Do not enter into their dens of iniquity. Do not partake of their evil.
Correct.
And in fear, we go into those tribunals. Now, that
And
said,
Catherine, if you remember, the same day that I went in for that pretrial and met Timmy Gilligan, do you remember he was handed a notice of liability, holding him liable and others liable, the clerk and police officer, for
well, it was the first notice. It was basically explaining that you are not the all capital name because you didn't create that. Your parents didn't create that. And
Right.
if you're wrong about any of that, you're giving him and his buddies in the corporation, you know, X number of days, I can't remember how many it was, to respond to that. Well, they didn't. I think at that point you were on the first notice, weren't you? Or was it the second notice at that point?
Was I on what?
The day that you walked in to
the day they arrested me. I had the clerk handed him the notice. He looked at it.
Yeah, but was it the first or the second notice?
That was the first notice.
Okay, I thought it was the first notice.
Yeah.
So
after the second notice is when they caused me harm, and I had the bruising and the scrapes and from the handcuffs and everything. And then that's when the second notice came out, holding them liable for higher monetary
right.
amount.
And the liability increases every day. Yeah. So and our court is reserving jurisdiction to determine that. Now, what we could have done, it maybe should have done, but we have made a decision that we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt they never give us. That we're going to find monetary liability and injunctions, but we're not going to find them criminally liable. That's a job for the grand jury according to their rights, if they claim them, according to the Fifth Amendment, because they are persons and it's their constitution. They have never done that. But they may never do that if we did form a common law grand jury. So at that point, you know, we would have a common law court, and we need several more people to complete that, just in case somebody ever asks for a 12-member jury. And then we need a 25-member common law grand jury to issue a true bill, finding probable cause they believe that they committed crimes, and that crimes were committed and they committed them. So they're always committing crimes. They also cause us monetary loss and physical harm, emotional harm, financial harm, and even in their world, they recognize that they can be liable monetarily as well as criminally. And it's high time that criminal sanctions were imposed. I think what we're going to need to do, besides form our common law grand jury, if we can get enough people with a backbone to join us in forming a 25-member grand jury, we're going to need that, and we're going to need to do an ejectment action. Maybe we need to even do the ejectment action before or while we're assembling the common law grand jury. The ejectment action will be to get these criminals out of their unlawful occupation of our public courthouse, and we can do it. We can do it perhaps as to all the courthouses in Ohio, but I would want to have enough people in each county to bring that as to each county's courthouse. And again, we just we've still got people that are just hemming and hawing and thinking somebody else is going to take care of it for them.
Yeah. Or
So-
thinking that these so-called courts are going to give them justice,
Oh, yeah.
or
Yeah,
hold themselves.
I got a
or
call
hold-
from somebody who said she was going to be on the broadcast to say how she out Perry Masoned everybody and she won a victory. And it is possible to win some sort of a victory of sorts in their rigged system. It is. You know, there's all kinds of ways of doing that. Yeah, thanks for putting the phone number in the email address. You know, there's no reason anybody can't contact us. But man, it sure looks like people are too frightened to even be on the call, even to ask questions.
Right.
Okay, I'm not sure what they're waiting for, but
What was the chapter that I sent you regarding those with ears and why Jesus spoke in parables, and those that have ears will hear and those that have
With
eyes
eyes.
will see.
yeah.
When you don't have the light of God within you, this can be right in front of you, an answer, and you won't see it. You won't see it. You won't hear it. You'll turn the other way and look for answers in the same place you've been going to that's been screwing you up the everything.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
and you'll keep going back there. I mean, they've taken your life, they've taken your kids, they've taken your parents, they've taken your home, they've screwed you every which way, but you're gonna go back there for more because you refuse
they're gonna
to
fix
believe
it?
that-
Like they made a mistake before.
right?
I don't think
or that his
they-
buddies at their fraternity, the bar that they all belong to and are members of, that they're going to hold one another accountable. It doesn't
No.
happen, and it's not going to happen. It's a 1 in a billion chance that it does. 1 in a billion.
There are ways that people prevail, you know, such as bribery and so forth, and friendship with one of the attorneys. There are ways, but for most of us, they make more money for their boss, the corporation, their corporate superiors, by locking us up, by assessing ridiculous fines.
By violating their oath of office.
If they have any, I mean,
If it's
any more on our notices, I just put they either have no notice, no oath of office, or it's being it's they're in violation of it, and they always agree. You know, that's how it is. So
and like I told you, I have someone who I know someone whose husband is a police officer, and we were grilling out with them one day, and it was after or in between or after the COVID thing when people were there were crazy videos of people getting arrested by police for not wearing a mask and all this, and I had asked them, I'm like, seeing as you now you're a police officer in another state, and seeing that these police officers are arresting people for some mandate. It's not a law. They didn't commit a crime. Now, and I asked him, as a police officer, would you stay true to your oath of office and defend the Constitution, or would you be one of those police officers that arrested somebody who asserted their rights against some mandate, not a law? They didn't break a law. They didn't harm. He says, you know what he said to me? He said, as a police officer, he says, I'm going to do whatever my supervisor tells me to do. I'm like, even if it's violating someone's human rights, someone's constitutional rights, even though it's violating your oath of office, he said, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. He said, I'm going to do whatever my supervisor tells me. If it's a police officer, I'll do whatever my supervisor tells me, because my bonuses and my retirement and this and that is just too good to not do what he says. I'm not going to ruin that.
Mhm.
So Wow.
Even if it means blowing the heads off of children, whatever it takes to he'll be
this
happy to
officer-
do it.
so now I'm telling you, I heard this firsthand from a police officer I know very well. And so knowing that, people have to think to themselves. So these officers, they don't care about your rights. They don't really care about the Constitution. They only care about themselves and their bonuses and their retirement, and everything else goes out the door. So if their supervisor tells them, go ahead, shoot them. If they say whatever, taser them. So you better be ready. You better be ready. You better be ready. It's a sad state of affairs we're living in.
There's no reason to call them because their corporate United States Supreme so-called court has already admitted several times that these so-called cops have no duty to protect or serve. So what
And
would
Catherine,
you be calling them
real quick, I just want to state that I don't think all police officers are like that. I'm sure there's a couple here and a couple there that would stay true to their oath of office.
If they have a legitimate oath
Right.
to.
But to be honest with you, I really only think there's a couple here and a couple there. There's what is it called, Catherine? The blue wall of silence.
Uh-huh.
That's another thing. They learn after they don't know it going in. I don't think a lot of, because they're getting them when they're really young and training them the way they want them to be, molding them into, I hate to say it, into the killers they want them to be. And it's sad and scary, but we have to only fear God and trust in Him. But
they work for a corporation. Their primary duty, their only duty, is to make money for the corporation. They have no duty to protect us. And that's, they would be violating their duty to their employer if they did. So why do we keep expecting that?
right.
We cited the cases on that before. Going back actually to Magna Carta days, can we pull up Magna Carta? Because that's a 900-year-old document that has been used as authority for us, the people, to decide when folks get charged with crimes and when they don't.
Right.
Can we pull that up, that link?
Yeah, I'm just kidding. It's in the founding documents, right?
Right. Yeah, it is on our court website under founding documents.
Okay.
This was, there are several versions of Magna Carta. This is the famous 1215 Magna Carta signed at Runnymede, about 150 years after William the Conqueror brought in the filthy Roman civil law and feudalism. This was brought by a group of landed barons, noblemen, basically, who were tired of getting treated like scum of the earth by the so-called royalty that had been brought in by William the Conqueror, who was a really, really cruel, vicious guy. And if you look at item 25 of, I'm trying to just give you guys a historical, this isn't something you have to really memorize, but I want you to have an appreciation of the history that goes into Magna Carta, that goes back way, way before the Constitution, any Constitution in the Americas.
I love how they when it starts off, it's to who it's to, and then they start with greeting. Know that we, by the will of God, and for the safety of our soul and the souls of all our predecessors and our heirs, to the honor of God and for the exaltation of the Holy Church and the bettering of our realm. I mean, I love how that starts.
Along the way to describing the precursor of the grand jury, they mention a few things that do have a Bible foundation to them. And the first one of those is in, are you scrolled on the document now? Because I'm looking at
Can you see it? Which number?
25.
Oh,
Wait a minute. Is that the first one? Let's see.
yeah, that was the first one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Catherine.
No
No,
problem.
I'm going to pull it up off the PDF instead, where it's more clear. Okay.
There's some early stuff too that points out that really by operation of law, heirs would automatically receive their inheritance. There wasn't all this nonsense with probate courts, and they were going through nonsense like that back in the 13th century also. But skipping ahead to paragraph 25 of Magna Carta, and there have been several versions of Magna Carta since then. And Magna Carta is not, I'm not saying Magna Carta is authority for us, the people, but it's certainly, it's been a standard in Anglo-American countries for about 900 years. And, you know, it has been the way that the people who sit on those grand juries decide when a matter should, when someone should be prosecuted and when they should not be prosecuted.
Right.
And it was one of the first really organized voices of the people. So if you look at paragraph 25, it refers to hundreds. It says, let me get this. All counties, hundreds, wapentates, I don't know what that is, and trithings, our domain manors being accepted, shall continue according to old forms without any increase at all. The hundreds refers to Exodus 18. And I mentioned this because I had lengthy discussion with another common law advocate over the last few days who doesn't like the grand jury idea, thinks we can skip over that, even though it's got 900 years of history to it. And he refers to Exodus 18 and Numbers 1, chapter 1. In Exodus 18, there's an early reference. This is before the Ten Commandments. This was referring to the practice that they had at the time of resolving their disputes. This was before the 3-notice process that Jesus brought in later. Moses was personally dealing with disputes between people among the 12 tribes, and it took him all day. People just couldn't get along with each other. Sound familiar? Maybe they had disputes with each other.
Maybe a little.
And so he would resolve those small disputes, large disputes, huge disputes. Anyway, one day his father-in-law came in and said, "You're killing yourself with this. You need some help. You need somebody to help you with that, with resolving of these disputes. Why don't you do it like this? You need to organize groups of 10s, 50s, and 100s, and of basically responsible, God-fearing people among the people that others respected. And have them resolve the smaller disputes and save your strength for the large disputes. And so that's what they did. And it worked out pretty well for them, because apparently they were still referring to it in Numbers. That's a book after Leviticus, if I'm not mistaken, where it refers several times to the hundreds. When they talk about the hundreds, they were talking about the men at the time who were 20 years of age or older and had the capacity to go to war if need be. They needed to take stock of how many. They would group the people into hundreds. The groups that had 100 such men in their group would be 100 group, and they had groups of 10 and groups of 50. And if you look at the census of those times, there were always numbers divisible by 10, 50, or 100. And it was for purposes of self-defense, and maybe even something that isn't quite self-defense, but taking back what's yours. At one point, they had to take back the Ark of the Covenant. And they needed people to do that were considered trustworthy.
Yeah.
Now that practice carried over from however many years Moses lived before Christ to 1,200 years after Christ. They were still using the concept of hundreds. And I thought that was pretty significant. That's a pretty significant history. It's even more significant than the history of the grand jury is. But we're not there yet. But I just mentioned that in passing, since that concept carries over from century to century to century. And we will see it again, and we need to be using that concept when it comes to our ability to defend ourselves in an organized manner. But that's why I wanted to bring up paragraph 25 of Magna Carta. If you look just above it to paragraph 24.
Okay, which one are we looking at now?
Just the paragraph right above 25. Paragraph 24. No sheriff, constable, coroners.
Yeah.
Shall hold the pleas of our crown. Wait a minute, that's not the one I wanted. There was it'll be the one that talks about specifically how none of their constables or bailiffs or sheriffs or
28.
28 and 30. They can't take your chattel.
Right.
Yeah, skipping down to paragraph 28,
28.
the constable can take our chattel.
Mm-hmm.
Paragraph 30, no sheriff or bailiff can take our chattel. They can't just come in, I'm going to take this. I'm doing a search, I'm going to take this. No.
Unless by the will of that free man.
Yeah, I mean, if you give them permission, yeah.
Right, if you give them permission.
Yeah, right. That's why we don't want to be giving them permission. Then if you skip over to paragraphs 39 and 40, that's the beginnings of the notion. Well, not really the beginnings, because they're biblical beginnings too, but it continues the tradition of due course of law, now known as due process of law, that justice delayed is justice denied. And they weren't creating Magna Carta for nothing. They were creating it so that there would be a swift organization that could administer justice.
Yeah. And we should let people know what they're doing and the wordage that they're using. And they're trying to just smear the Magna Carta and other things like this. See in number 39 where it states no free man shall be taken or imprisoned. Okay. When I was taken and imprisoned for spelling my name in court and not committing any crime, and I was sent to a sentence of 30 days in jail for spelling my name, for the record. While I was there, within the first hour or two, one of the prosecutors opens the door of the cell, and he asked me, would you want to get out of here today? Do you want to just come out and plead whatever? And I said, plead to what? I said, where's your evidence that I did anything wrong? That's what I want to know. Where's that evidence? First, let me see that. And he, you know what he said to me? He looked at the officer who opened the door and literally said to him, I'm telling you, said to the officer, oh, just close the door. Forget it. She's one of them free men. That's what he said. I'm like, free men? I'm like, what? I didn't even know what that was, but this is what he's associating
Well,
with.
you can't be right. If you're a slave, they spit on you. If you're a free man or woman, they spit on
Right.
you. So.
And now they've created this bogus term called sovereign citizen, which is an oxymoron. You can't be sovereign and be a citizen. And they are training officers that if you even question being asked for this or question about that or where are you going or and you say, have I committed a crime? Right away they're like, they're a sovereign citizen here, and they have labeled you a domestic terrorist. That's what's happening, people. And we have documentation of training that the FBI is doing, training police officers that if you mention the Constitution, right away you're labeled a sovereign citizen, which they say is a domestic terrorist. And if you say the word travel, if you use the word conveyance, anything like that, right away you're labeled a sovereign citizen. And the FBI's trained that. And Attorney General Yost, for instance, our Attorney General here in Ohio, authorized all of this to authorize training police that you can label them a domestic terrorist and sovereign citizen and act with force and shoot if you have to, because they're domestic terrorists if they mention the Bible or mention the Constitution. And I am not even lying, because this is on the FBI documents of how they train police.
Well, it just goes beyond the ridiculous.
It's beyond.
If anyone's a domestic terrorist, it's them, and we established that in the first case we decided in our court that Michael DeWine, who goes by many other names, is actually, a domestic terrorist, and he admitted it 4 times, counting the petition.
Right.
So, they're the ones that are the domestic terrorists. And then there's another provision. They haven't brought this one out, but I expect at some point they will. I heard a common law court, a member of a common law court in another state express fear that they would be subject to that their process, which is of course lawful, would be called a sham legal process, which is the title that they have. It's pretty much the same statute name in all of the states. We have a sham legal process in all the corporate states of states. State of Ohio is the corporation. State of Texas is the corporation. There's
or Ohio state of. Texas state of.
That's how Dun & Bradstreet knows them. Yeah.
Right.
And they're, if anyone is committing or is creating a sham legal process, which at one time was defined to be one in which no due process is allowed. Well, that's every single time they do anything? I think they may have taken that part out, but they can't. They just don't know how to put lipstick on that pig and make it so that it will apply to us and not to them, because the effect is that it clearly does not apply to us, and it clearly does apply to them, and they admit it every single time we bring it up.
Exactly.
So I'm not at all worried about sham legal process. So y'all can stop shivering in your shoes over that one. It doesn't apply to us on its own terms. It applies to persons who are conducting these fraudulent, extortion rackets, basically.
Right.
They're just shakedown operations. We'll lock you up unless you pay us. That's what it's about.
It's a huge money making racket that they're involved in.
Mm-hmm.
And
genocide, of course. Yeah. So I don't know, folks, the sooner that you can pry your heads out of your butts and be part of a plan to resist this in an effective manner, the sooner, the better off that you'll be. But so many people, they just can't seem to find their courage. And really, you're just about at the point where you don't have any other choices. I mean, you can always decide to join the bad guys, but that's not going to make life for you necessarily any easier.
They join the bad guys and make that decision every time they don't step up to do the right thing for their neighbor, for their family, for their friend. They have made a decision and joined the bad side. It's pretty simple. And I think we're in a point in time right now in this world where there's no riding the fence anymore. There's no riding the fence. You've made a decision. You've either chosen the dark side or you've chosen the light. You ain't on the fence. No, there is no gray area. If you're not standing up for what's right, and if you don't have morals and show it by doing the right thing and standing up for your brothers, your sisters, your neighbors, your friends, when they're being hit with the tyrannical decisions of these black robed demons, then you've made a decision, and I'm sorry, you belong to the dark side. That's just the way it is. I'm sorry, but I'm just got to be blunt.
Absolutely. Now, anybody is eligible to become a member of any lawful common law grand jury, including ours that we've already provided notice for.
And if you're still unclear, our number, and we have a phone number and an email address there, give a call and ask us. Say, I'm concerned I might be on the dark side, but I'm not sure that you guys are doing the right thing. Can you explain? We'll explain. We will show you documentation. We will show you what you need. But get out of the darkness, for Christ's sakes.
Now we want membership on our court and on our common law grand jury to be available to all, but not all will qualify because they will refuse. If you look back to Magna Carta, scroll down just a little bit more to paragraph 45. And when they say we, they're referring to the 25 barons that brought this to be signed by the evil King John. We will not make men justices, constables, sheriffs, or bailiffs unless they are such as know the law of the realm and are minded to observe it rightly. So not just anybody can join up.
25. Was that 25? Where was
45.
that?
45.
I'm sorry, 45. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. There it is.
And what that translates for us to is we don't want people on our courts or grand juries who have enslaved themselves in significant ways to the dark side. And they do that by registering to vote in their rigged corporate elections.
Or if they have registered because they didn't know what it all entails, then get yourself out of that, because
We will help you. We
yeah.
will help you do that. And it will only benefit you because when you're a registered voter, you are effectively signing as a co-signer for their gambling debts and their nonsense that they trade in on Wall Street. And because your signature is a very powerful thing. Rebut that signature, and I will help you do it. Constables, sheriffs, and bailiffs, same thing. We can have those lawful offices that they have usurped with corporate agents. And but we want to know that we can trust you first. We want to see that you're willing to disengage by extracting yourself off of the voter registration list, extracting yourself off the corporate United States slave citizenship lists, and rebut the presumptions they created when they created the all capital version of your name that they used to commit crimes with. Get yourself out of that,
Yeah.
What is it that Ephesians 5:11 says? Do not partake of their deeds of iniquity. And if you are allowing them by your signature to use your name, and they're committing crimes and other frauds against other people using your signature, and you're allowing that, you're just as culpable as they are.
Exactly. Unfortunately.
Yes. And it's not going to help much to say, oh, well, it was a fraud and fraud vitiates everything. I got that today. I didn't know any better. Well, I'm telling you now.
Or the new one, not the new one, but what a lot of people are trying to share, which is it doesn't matter because I'm forgiven already. So I could do whatever. I won't be held accountable for hanging out with the dark. I can hang out with the dark side because I've already been forgiven. So I'm going to have it anyway. So I can hang out with the dark side and the evil ones and do what they do. I'm forgiven already. It's okay. Really?
Yeah, maybe they weren't as forgiven as they thought they were if they were so inclined to turn their backs on God that easily. Then let's see, what's the next one that I have? This really gets all right. I think we did we do 39 and 40, the due course of law, no delaying of justice?
Let's see. 39 and 40, right?
39 and 40, yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Okay,
Remember
then skip over to 52, paragraph 52. And I bring this up because there's a huge land grab going on, and we've seen this in our own court where we did restore the right to possession of a family home, but the people waited a really long time before they came to us for their remedy. And we will be able to restore the stolen land, and that's been done. It's been done even after they transfer title, fraudulently, of course, time and time again. Once you establish with your notices that the fact of the thievery,
and it doesn't say. I love what it says, where it says, if anyone's been, this has been taken, or that his lands, castles, liberties, or lawful rights, we shall straightway restore them to him.
Yes.
Not we'll work on it. We shall straightway restore them to him. Like now, not waiting for this and for that. And sheesh.
And if a dispute shall arise, it shall be settled according to the judgment of the 25 barons. And here's their role. The 25 barons were considered to be sureties for the peace. The 25 barons were looked to keep the peace. Then and this is the last part that we typically use in forming a common law grand jury, and that is item 61. That's a really big deal part of Magna Carta.
And for anyone interested, on our website, the Ohio State Court of Record, OCCR2021.com, under founding documents, is this Magna Carta that we're showing now. Okay, we're looking at what, 61 now?
61, yes. Inasmuch as for the sake of God, for the bettering of our realm, and for the more ready healing of the discord which has arisen between us and our barons, this is supposed to be the words of the king. We have made all these aforesaid concessions. We grant them the following security according to their judgment, saving the persons of ourselves, our queen, and our children. This is John, the so-called. Remember, at the time this was written, they were still laboring under the idea of the sovereign right of the king, which, of course, we know today is nonsense. Whoever the land wishes to do so shall swear that in carrying out all the aforesaid measures, he will obey the mandates of the aforesaid 25 barons. He will press us to the extent of his power. Basically, if the ruler gets in their way. So, interestingly, if you look at their statutes and codes, and I recognize Magna Carta was meant for landed noblemen, not women, landed noblemen, but it's something we can take guidance from. It's there for us to use and adapt to modern times. We're not free to disregard it.
Right, exactly.
It was there, and it served a purpose. It served a godly purpose. It had the limitations imposed by the ignorance of those days, but it has a lot of wisdom to it as well. And they were also looking back to at least 1,000 years before them, to the time of Moses. They were taking their wisdom from the ancient scriptures. So, those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. So that's our goal, and we will continue it however long it takes. And that will enable us to not just defend ourselves, but to take back that which belongs to us, and to impose criminal sanctions for those who have harmed us. Now, and to satisfy any who might say that I've got a Fifth Amendment right to have a true bill from a grand jury. So we'll give them their grand jury. We need to be prepared to do that.
We're almost there, Catherine, aren't we? We're almost there. We're getting close.
I'm going to skip ahead to Zen at Vocational Science of Freedom, VSOF. You see that's the last link I sent you.
Okay.
And that's a video or an audio anyway. And I just noticed that they have case law, so-called, in their system that says that, because we know they have their corporate so-called grand juries. We know that. Is that the same thing? Not by a long shot. It's not the same thing.
Right.
For one thing, how do they pick the members of that? They pick slaves to be the members of that grand jury, and they don't let them do anything. There's a judge breathing down their neck, and there's a prosecutor telling them what to do every step of the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you scroll, I don't know if you're able to pull up around about the 7-minute mark.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, he points out that what to do when you've got a corporate grand jury wannabe in your county or in your state republic, and you're forming, in other words, a de facto grand jury, and then you form a de jure grand jury. If you start with the 7-minute mark, and this is not an endorsement of everything that they say on this broadcast, but there's a lot of good stuff in here, particularly about Magna Carta.
Okay.
Anyway, up here it says there cannot be a grand jury de facto when there is a grand jury de jure, and it's got a little number 61.
That's it.
So you come down here to 61, and here's the case. It's an Illinois case. People versus Brautigan, looks like Brautigan. That's
and I bet there's other cases too. That's all I really wanted it for.
Classroom.
Okay. It's very much like the case that we brought up before, in Ray Milligan, I think it is, in which they try and cram a military tribunal down our throat, as they did after the War of Northern Aggression, Civil War, whatever you call it, that killed more people than any other war before or since. During that war, or right after that war, they weren't done killing, and they wanted to go into the South, and they wanted to go after Confederate veterans. And they wanted to use military tribunals. In other words, they wanted to skip over due process. Let's go straight to execution, you know. But even there, U.S. Supreme Court admitted that you can't do it that way. You know, not when there's an up and running civilian, in other words, non-military court of record that's up and running. So this, far from being a way that you stick your neck out by joining our court, you protect yourself by being a member of our court, because then if they try and go after you in a military tribunal, and some say that they're fake corporate tribunals, you know, on every street corner in every county, that those are also military tribunals, because they're certainly sporting military flags, aren't they? I think they are. So when they try to cram those down our throats, we can refer to their own In re Milligan to admit that we have an up and running common law court, and it takes priority over whatever it is that you're running there.
Whatever it is that you're running there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Scary. Very
And
scary.
they admit that. I mean, how can they not? And they don't, you know, every time we bring it up. So it's similar with the grand jury. If our grand jury, our de jure grand jury, de jure is spelled Dejure, it means lawful, and de facto means is what it is. It's just what we have, you know, as a placeholder until you people, you know, get it together to form your de jure government, your lawful government. But if you're going to just sit around and, you know, eat Cheetos, we're not, you know, we're going to take charge, because you won't abide by God's commandment to you in Genesis 1:26 to take care of things. So we will.
And they're making so much money doing that, you know, because people won't stand up, and they've been so indoctrinated to believe they're the boss. They got the badges, they got the guns, they got the black dress, men wearing black dresses and in these stages, and people are so indoctrinated to think that person's signature on a piece of paper, they really believe that gives them the right to take from you what God gave you, your child, your parent, your freedom.
Your home.
But that guy in person in a black dress in that courtroom signed the paper, and they said so. Well, what did God say? Who are you going to listen to? I mean, yeah, they better, you know. You know.
So anyway, it's both parts of, a common law infrastructure are admittedly of higher priority than the parts that they have that are just copycats. They're just copying the old common law courts from the time of Moses, and the grand juries from the time of 900 years ago. So when we ever assemble our real courts, our real grand juries, they will have to step aside, and they know they have to step aside. We just have to do it. They're counting on our apathy, our fear, our our obsession with entertaining ourselves. They certainly provide us with plenty of that.
And they're also counting on their blue, what do you call them? The blue mafia. Their sheriffs and their police with guns and tasers and all that, who have given themselves the power to abuse a lot of times innocent people on command. But these judges and others are banking that these men in blue and these people are gonna stand up every time they say go get them, or and they're gonna be shocked and surprised when the hand of God comes over like a wave over many of these police officers and sheriffs and turns them around and has them do the right thing. And I do believe that day is coming. I really do. And it's going to take a lot of what we're doing. But what do you think, Catherine? Don't you think that
we have to recognize that they have no duty to protect us, so they serve no function. They're there to.
I'm not saying to protect us. I'm saying what they're doing now, where they're attacking us for a word we say, or for questioning their authority, or or because there's a judge wrote on a piece of paper, this is what's to be done, and they're just doing whatever they're told. But I'm telling you, there's going to come a day when they're going to start standing up and say, wait a minute, you can't do that. We have to look into this first before we harm this person. That day's coming. I'm telling you, it's got.
I have seen video of traffic stops where the man or woman behind the wheel is explaining imperfectly, usually, a little bit about common law, and some of these costumed, corporate agents who have guns and a badge are starting to want to listen to what we have to say, because they know they're getting screwed over and lied to by their corporate superiors. They know something is wrong.
And if maybe they need to watch a few of these audits. Maybe they don't read. I honestly think they must live with blinders on, because it's happening. And I see plenty of videos going on where when they do what they're told, they're actually, a lot of times, their partners or another officer that comes onto the scene is the one to report that other officer, and that officer ends up getting fired. You just lost, for doing.
You can go the other way too, where you can have the cop at the scene who doesn't know anything and is ready to, shoot the traveler, but the supervisor will come along and want to actually listen. That's the one I listened to, and he was like, you could tell it was they had some concerns about their own personnel issues and how they were being treated by their corporate superiors when it came to the what. And so the trick seemed to be to And there's better ways of doing this. I would rather people, as I said earlier in this broadcast, to carry around a judgment with them and just let them read it. But, to always be emphasizing that I'm just a man or woman and you're just a man or woman underneath, all the frills and the armament and the badges and the costume. Or you can even ask them point blank. I mean, this is America, right? And aren't we all supposed to be equal? And if we're equal in rights, then can I do this to you? Can I go to your house and beat down your door and take your children? Well, if I can't do that to you, and we're equal, then you can't do it to me.
Unfortunately, what's happening is we're living in a time of spiritual warfare. And to be honest, a lot of these people that will be approaching us with not good intentions do not have the light of God in them. They have opened themselves to, I'm sorry, but it's the truth, to demonic possession. And once you even start to say, listen, now what if right away you could see them flip like a switch and they're like, get out of the car and what are you doing? I mean, you can just see the switch right away. And if you're a follower of the Lord Jesus Christ, you know what's going on at that point. And you just have to.
That's why. So, because who knows? Are they getting voice to skull technology imposed on them? I mean, we know
that's a possibility too. This Speech UK and for the public, if you don't know about this, I only found out about this a few months ago, maybe late last year. I'm like, what is that? Go ahead and look up V2K. That's voice to skull. It's voice to skull technology.
Yes.
I mean that. Well, if you want, we could do another show on that. But for anyone listening, this is a real thing going on. The V2K, voice to skull technology, and there are people that they don't even know why they're doing what they're doing, and they're hearing voices. They're like, okay, I got to do this. They don't understand why. Well, look it up, and it's insane what this government is capable of doing.
There are people who are running these operations, and they can be made liable. They can be prosecuted, but we have to lift a finger to join with others and learn how it's done. Luciana and I and the members of our court know how it's done, but we can't do everything for everybody else. We can't do your breathing for you.
And we didn't just get here by let's try this. Catherine, you went through 40 years as a bar attorney before you came to the realization, I'm not going to live on this dark side. I'm resigning. I don't want to be a bar member anymore. I need to start teaching people what's the right way. And after 5 years, I spent 5 years wasted fighting in their corrupt private corporations and thinking I'm going to get justice somehow. I've got tons of evidence, witnesses, evidence, photos, everything. I'm going to get justice. Oh, well, okay, this court's not doing it. Okay, well, the attorney general for sure would love to hear what they're doing to me. Nope. The governor's going to want to do something. Nope. The police or sheriff, they're going to step in and do something. Nope. The FBI, it says right on their website.
Inspector General. I was the Inspector General. Nope. Yeah.
No one is going to. They're all involved in covering up and protecting the crimes of their peers, and they're all peers, or else. And that's a problem with being involved, unfortunately, in those corporations. Is if they don't turn a blind eye and not do anything, they better not do anything. If their brother bar member, judge violated your rights, committed federal crimes against you, they better not get involved. They better shut up, because you know what? They've got so many in line prepared to come get your children or come get their children and take them down and ruin their lives for investigating them.
Well, but they will do it anyway. They will do it quicker if you try and get justice in their system.
Mhm.
It will hurt you worse.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is, it's the reason a lot of people don't understand. Why isn't the FBI? Why isn't this person? Why isn't that sheriff who I know him? Why won't he do anything? I've got all the because they're operating out of fear as well, and they are operating. They're either involved or operating out of fear, where they know if they open their mouth and do something to stop the crimes being committed against you by the judge or by this person, they know that they're going to be the next one. CPS is knocking on their door, going to get their kids taken. They're going to get a bullet in the head when they're on duty, by someone told to do so. And so they're operating out of fear a lot, which is, I'm sorry, it's still no excuse to allow what's going on. But what do we expect?
Just for the record, I mean, I was in their system for 40 some years, and I got worse threats when I was in the system than I've gotten since. I really don't get threats now. They know that I'm on to them, and they don't.
And because
I might be shot to death next week, tomorrow, God forbid.
And because you're so public now as well.
Yes,
a lot of people have their eyes on you. If something were to happen to you, I mean, pretty much everybody knows where that came from.
Mm-hmm. But while you're one of them, hell hath no fury, as when you're one of them and you scorn them while you're in there.
Right.
You have to get out and be under the protection of God.
Exactly.
And then they actually tend to leave you alone. And that's certainly what I've found. I have so much less fear now since I resigned.
Maybe it's not that they leave you alone, that when they try to come after you for this, you have the protection of God now.
Yes.
If you have faith and you believe, okay, but you're not going to have that protection if you don't have faith and have, our Father and the light of God living inside of you. Then you need to be careful. This is a very shaky road, and you need to be equipped with the armor of God to do this type of stuff.
I wanted to turn to their kind of last word on what they have admitted about the powers of a grand jury. Now, they were not talking about a common law grand jury in this case, but they were talking about their corporate grand jury, and this came from the decision of United States versus Williams, 504 U.S. 36, a 1992 decision. The majority opinion was written by Antonin Scalia. You see that one? It's beginning at part A.
Part 8, yes, I have that.
Yeah. Now, so take some of what he's saying with a grain of salt.
That was United States versus Williams, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And this was 1992, 2000. This is 40 years ago. 40 years ago since 1992? I think so. 92.
Don't make me have it.
30 some years ago. He was writing. And I don't think that endeared him to his fellows. But basically, he's saying that the Constitution mentions the grand jury, but it prescribes no rules for even their grand jury. They've just superimposed their own corporate agenda on the corporate grand jury. but it was always intended to be a separate body that isn't part of the judicial, not part of the executive or the legislative branches, belongs to the people. Some call it a fourth branch of government. Citizens have the unbridled right to impanel their own grand juries and present true bills. So he even admits that the government isn't the one that assembles a grand jury, although they do, because they can't let us do anything. They got to co-opt it in some ways. And they admit that basically there are no rules for a grand jury. It's separate from the court. So, but if you look at their corporate grand juries, the courts are all over it. They swear the grand jurors in. They get the members of the grand jury by the voter registration list, and the voter registration lists, as we've learned, are just lists of corporate slaves. So then they bring them into a room, and then they have the corporate prosecutor come in and tell them what to do and how to do it. And if there's ever a question, then the Black Road Wonder comes in and tells them what to do and how to do it himself. But Scalia admits quite a bit. He doesn't admit everything, but he admits a lot of useful stuff. It can be a buffer or a referee between the government and the people. And they say, although the grand jury normally operates in the courthouse, its relationship with the judicial branch has traditionally been at arm's length. Well, in fact, there is no requirement that it operate at the courthouse. It would be nice, it would be better if we take possession of our public courthouses and conduct our grand juries there, but we don't have to. And they can and have been done on Zoom calls and other ways electronically. You've heard about the grand jury proceedings are supposed to be secret. There's no requirement of that. They do it because they love secrecy, because they're always doing something underhanded.
Exactly, and this is why they don't allow the public, and they don't have a jury. It still floors me to this day that people are okay with this and don't question this, that the juvenile courts are the only courts that don't have juries. You have one judge.
That's a different type of jury. Let's make a distinction between the grand jury and the petit jury. Yeah. This is the grand jury is the investigative body, and it's the accusatory body. They don't decide the case. They don't decide on guilt or innocence. They just decide, was a crime committed, and did this man or woman commit it? And you can refer anything you want to that happened in your state republic to the grand jury, and they're supposed to investigate it. And they have the subpoena power, and they can enforce that subpoena power. They have an investigative role, and then when they're done investigating, they look at whatever evidence they want to look at, and they can refuse to look at whatever evidence they don't want to look at. And when they're done, they either issue a true bill or a no bill. A true bill means, yes, we find there was probable cause to believe a crime was committed, and that this man or woman, or this group of men and women committed that crime, and we're going to recommend that they be prosecuted. And traditionally, it was the foreman of the grand jury that prosecuted the ones who were found probable cause against in the common law court. It's not up to the prosecutor in the fake corporate system to do that. And then when the grand jury is referred a matter, let's say in the Roger Hilligus case, for example, in Nevada, if the people of Nevada suddenly decided to grow a backbone and form a common law grand jury and investigate, why is it that our public officials have been found, admittedly, liable for murder of Roger Hilligus's mother and attempted murder of Roger and all kinds of other crimes, including kidnapping. We should investigate. And they don't have to stop there. They can start with investigating the murder of Roger Hilligus's mother and the attempted murder of Roger Hilligus himself. But they can continue and investigate anything they want to. They can investigate the conditions in that jail. They can investigate anything that their investigation leads them to. They're the people of the grand jury, and they're entitled to do all of this if they only would.
If they only would.
Yes.
They only would.
And no judge can tell them they can't do it. No prosecutor can tell them they can't do it. No corporate grand jury can tell them they can't do it. And all they have to have is mere suspicion. Mere suspicion that entitles them to prosecute and issue subpoenas for whatever records they need, for whatever witnesses they need. And they can also impose or ask the common law court to impose contempt sanctions against people who decide to thumb their nose at a grand jury subpoena.
Right.
So now, to get to the difference between grand jurors or a grand jury and a petit jury, the petit jury is the jury of 12 that assembles in the court. And that's what we have. We have 10 now. We need 2 more to fully have our court assembled. We can still make decisions with 10,
Right.
or even less.
And Catherine, for the naysayers who just can't believe that this is possible or that we have the right to do this. No, it can't be. It's never been done. Oh, please. If you don't mind, okay, did you see that there on the screen? I'm just sharing the first few lines of Justice Scalia's on what he said. And he said the grand jury outlined by Justice Antonin Scalia, speaking for the majority in the Supreme Court case, United States versus Williams. And he states, we, the people of the United States of America, have been provided with legal recourse to address the criminal conduct of persons entrusted to dispense justice. Again, a recourse to address the criminal conduct of persons entrusted to dispense justice. The American grand jury is neither part of the judicial, executive, nor legislative branches of government, but instead belongs to the people. It is in effect a 4th branch of government, governed and administered to directly by and on behalf of the American people, and its authority emanates from the Bill of Rights. So citizens have the unbridled right to impanel their own grand juries and present true bills and so on and so on. So,
well, it emanates from more than just the Bill of Rights.
Yeah, but this goes on.
That's what he admitted to.
It goes on for a while. But that's just the beginning of that Supreme Court decision. So we do have the right to do that. And this is why Catherine, might I say, we're unstoppable. We're doing the right thing under God. We're doing the right thing on behalf of the people, our brothers, our sisters, our family, our friends, and we, so yeah, they can try. They're not trying. The only way they're going to try is to, harm us, and just for the public's knowledge, I have no intentions to commit suicide or nope. Anyone can tell you that. I'm fine. I'm not a drug user. I'm a very good driver. I should not be running into any fatal accidents. And if I did have a fatal accident, Catherine, I know that you and many others are going to look into what the heck happened there.
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah. Just so if anybody's unclear, the petit juries or the 12 on a court, they decide innocence or guilt. The grand juries don't even do that. So folks, don't hesitate to be on a grand jury. All you're doing is listening to evidence and deciding on whether there's probable cause or not. And you're not deciding on the ultimate guilt or innocence. So, grand jury is a buffer, and it can not only accuse people, it can exonerate people who have been falsely accused by the corporate goons. Let's see if there's some other point I was wanting us to make about, as far as I think we have the citation for U.S. versus Williams. It goes on for a while about the various powers that grand jurors have. And some of them, they say, some of the information there is correct. And, from prior broadcasts, if one of their corporate decisions says things that we don't like, tries to take away our sovereign powers, we can ignore that because they aren't sovereign. But if they admit things that we find useful, we'll take it. But there's some difference about whether the grand jury can compel the appearance of witnesses. As the people, I'm saying, yes, we can. We can compel the attendance of witnesses. There's also, and I bring this up because I think Bill Thornton from www.1215.org has a good working model of a grand jury manual. And it's not etched in stone like anything else. The people who form that grand jury will decide how they're going to run it, who their foreman's going to be, what they're going to investigate, what evidence they're going to look at, how long they're going to investigate it for, whether they're going to have alternates that might replace them if they, get called away for an emergency, or if they get exhausted, I guess. But we have to have a pool from which we can call people who can be trusted, who have made it clear that they are not slaves to the corporate system, because you can't be enslaved to that system and judge your fellow agents in that system. If you yourself are participating in the crimes, you can't be a judge of your co-employees and co-contractors in that system. So I believe that before we even have the needed 25 members, I would want to, and I plan on sketching out a grand jury manual. There's a lot of manuals out there that the de factos have, and we're certainly not bound by those, and we're not bound even by Bill Thornton's suggested grand jury rules. But ultimately, it would be up to the people on the grand jury to decide what their rules would be. So I urge anybody who cares about justice and being able to provide serious sanctions to those who are kidnapping our children, who are killing us, who are poisoning us, and who are stepping all over our rights, stealing our land, that you come together, and I will help you become a member of a common law, start your own common law grand jury in your state, or become a member of ours. So Anybody who's been listening on the call want to jump in and say anything? I know that some don't think that having a grand jury is a good idea, but again, I have concerns that the bad guys that we usually run into are going to claim protection from their Fifth Amendment entitlement to a grand jury presentment before they're prosecuted.
All right. Hi, Charles. Hi, Keith.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
How are we doing?
We're okay.
All right. Let me expand the screen here. Yeah, that's good.
You just had a call.
Pardon me?
You just had a call of your.
I couldn't hear you.
I'm gonna mute.
Okay.
Oh,
You just had a call. This
Yeah, I
evening.
finished our call.
yeah. I think we're having issues with echo. With the extra people on right now.
All right.
Did you have a question, Charles?
Well, not really. I've been in phone conversation with Catherine quite a bit here recently, and we were talking about the Nevada case and the prisoner there. Did you guys get a chance to discuss that at all this evening?
Oh, just a little bit. It's very concerning what's going on with Roger Hillis in Nevada.
Yeah.
We're Catherine. I guess. Well, I don't know why I'm getting it, but it's not good. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. Is the echo gone? Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. To respond to that, yes, we have brought up the Roger Hilligus matter, that civil liability and an injunction was issued by a Texas common law court on July 31st, and they have not released him. So it sounds like they need a criminal prosecution, and to do that, they're going to need the people of Nevada to step up and form their own common law grand jury and issue true bills and get these people prosecuted. They're admitted murderers. The judgment in the Roger Hilligus case made a finding, not just by a preponderance of the evidence, but beyond a reasonable doubt, that these people committed murders, and they're okay with that. They're fine with that, and the people of Nevada seem to be fine with it too. So, anyway, I like to think that we in Ohio would not be so fine with that kind of a finding, but we might be. We might be.
For if there's anybody from Nevada, Texas, or that area that's willing to share the information, more information. I mean, the more people that know what's going on, the more the faster we can get help for Roger. Okay.
Yes.
And for those of you that don't know, Roger's mother was forced into a nursing home, right? With the probate court assigning her a guardian who was going through all of her money, taking over all of her money, everything else, forced drugging her. She, of course, did not need to be there. And she started getting a hold of her son, Roger. I don't feel good. This is not good what they're doing to me. I need to get out of here. And after looking into her son, Roger, looking into all the massive amount of drugs that they were putting into this woman, he contacted a former sheriff, right, Stuart Hand, who went with him to the nursing home one day, and they walked up to his mother and spoke to her. She had all her senses about her, but of course wasn't feeling good because of these drugs. And she said, please get me out of here, please. And they asked her, do you want to leave? You want to go home with your son? You want to go? She said, please, I want to go now. I don't feel safe here. And of course she doesn't. She didn't need the drugs. She didn't need to be in there. Her son and the retired sheriff walked with her out of the nursing home, and the doors were open by the employees. They knew that, okay, goodbye. They knew she was leaving with her son. And when all of a sudden there's, what was there, an Amber Alert or something about the mother being kidnapped from the nursing home, and they went after Roger and the retired sheriff who went with him to be a witness of what was going on, and they both got arrested, and they still have Roger Hilligus in while they have Roger Hilligus in jail now. They have since killed his mother. They took back custody of his mother, continued drugging her, and since killed her. So they have murdered his mother and are holding him. And he's in very poor health now, fighting every day and praying. And we are, please pray for Roger Hilligus. He needs all of our prayers right now. This is a serious case. And if it happened to him, it can happen to you.
Yes, it is in fact happening all over the country.
I mean, they are taking children, parents, and property.
Yes.
That's what they're making money off. Children.
And if they have to commit murder to do it, they will.
They'll do whatever they have to get those three things.
They have got to suffer the lawful consequences of their own conduct. And we have to impose that lawfully, not out of vengeance, which belongs to our Lord, but out of a lawful process.
Exactly. So. And we have a right to do that.
Yep. All right. Okay. Well, we've been at it for over 2 hours, I think. So we will be on again this time next week, God willing. And
9 o'clock Thursday.
9 o'clock Thursday.
9 o'clock Thursday. We'll be on with episode 16. And we'll have that up in a few days, notifying people what that will be about. Should be pretty interesting. That will be Thursday, August 17th at 9 p.m.
Yes.
And we look forward to
we'll
seeing
be
you
talking about
there.
taxation at that point.
I'm sorry?
We'll be talking about taxation at that point.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
All right. Well, blessings to all, and feel free to comment. Contact me if you have questions at WLJAradio@AOL.com. That's WLJAradio@AOL.com, or the phone number that's on the screen,
which is 614-633-0215. And God bless you, Catherine, because you are always open to taking calls and talking to people and explaining and giving them your experience as a 40-year bar attorney, what you know now. And I encourage people to make that call and learn what the truth is.
Yes.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you, Luciana, for making all this possible. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.